Welcome to Mindflow Radio.
We are creating conscious community by sharing mindful manifesting skills and transcendental music.
We are all in this together. Reverence for all life. Reverence for all life. Reverence for all life. Reverence for all life. Compassionate breeze, be all that you can be. door. Namaha.
Welcome to Mindflow Radio.
Mindflow Radio.
She's Jai Lynn,
And he's Monty.
and we're all in this together.
Yeah.
All of us.
How's it going out there?
All of us.
Are you feeling all right?
Energy.
Feeling inspired?
Balanced.
Yeah.
You're feeling inspired?
No, I'm asking our audience.
Oh.
Because we're in the virtual timeline.
Well, how
together.
are you feeling?
I'm feeling all right.
Okay.
I've been flowing with obstacles, and it's going okay.
Yeah, all right. Good job. It's kind of like life. Always obstacles
Yep.
emerge.
Yep.
The big question is, how do we deal with them?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, totally.
Do we let them crush us?
Or do we let these things, crush, I guess is a good word for it. But I was thinking about how we've had such an interesting week here at IMI Studios. We've had, we took down a tree, or we had somebody take down a tree that was dying, and it was really old. It was probably 200-ish years old. And they ran out of light and and things like that. But they were just like flowing with it, like, oh, well, we'll figure this out another day.
Yeah.
And I remember just watching that reaction and being like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I need to be more like that. And then today, the computer decided that it was not going to function until I updated it.
Right.
So it was like 3 hours.
How did you handle that?
At first, I was pretty whiny. And then I was like, okay, whatever. Just gotta go with the flow.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Might as well.
Yeah, right?
It feels better.
It's much easier.
It feels better to go with the flow.
Yeah.
And you're more effective.
Right.
And that also means if you're on your bike and for some reason something goes wrong with your front tire, you got to go with the flow.
Yeah.
You got to roll your body, you know?
Oh, good grief. You're making me not want to get on a bike.
Oh. Well, it's just an example of something going wrong.
Yeah, that sounds painful.
Well, it is, especially if you don't go with the flow.
Yeah.
Is my point.
Ooh. Yeah. For those of you who don't know, I don't ride bikes, but he just recently fixed a bike up for me. And,
All right.
and I don't know, that story just more hesitant.
Does that mean we can go on a ride right after we make this podcast?
I don't know. This scared
Let's just go
me.
around the block.
Oh, man. Anywho, yeah. So how do you go with the flow? Does it feel like the path of least resistance, or does it feel like you do a little kicking and screaming? And it's fun because you don't have to answer that. We won't hear your answer, but you can think about it and honestly reflect on what does that mean for you? Because I know for me, it's definitely challenging, but I'm getting better at it.
Well, and I think for me, there's all different types of circumstances, you know?
Yeah, totally.
Different levels of obstacles. But in general, I try and go with the flow of things, because it's just not worth it.
Yeah.
It's not worth ruining my day over, ruining my mood over most things.
Yeah.
You know?
Right?
Sometimes I get carried away too, I'm sure.
It's so interesting when you look at it like that too, because it is like that, but sometimes we feel that the path of resistance, like, rah, how could this go wrong?
Yeah.
It feels better sometimes, but then afterwards, it's like, oh, I'm really drained and I didn't figure it out.
It's just an example to me of just cognitive rigidity.
Okay. Yeah.
When something changes and you don't want it to, I don't want this to change, and
Yeah,
it changes
totally.
anyway. And it's
Totally.
like, are you willing to roll with it
Yeah.
or not?
Yep.
And yeah, like you said, we could always throw temper tantrums or whatever if we wanted to when things don't go our way.
I think that this is a very interesting topic too, because I think that it's worth noting that a lot of the people that we listen to are really trying to combat the mainstream media's feeding of emotional falseness.
Huh? What do you mean?
Well, I mean, we like JP Sears, and you've been talking about Joe Rogan. And there's also something out there called the Forgiveness Challenge by Aaron Abke and Mark Taylor Lord, I think is his name.
All right.
And just other people also speaking up about this and how we need to be prepared for the actual process that this country goes through when it elects somebody. And until they actually call it, it's best not to get too riled up.
Right.
And so one thing that we've been thinking about personally is how to foster a culture of peace when the media is absolutely working against that.
Right. Most of the media, for sure.
Yeah. And
I mean, most of the media is fostering division between us, anger, fear.
Yeah.
But,
if I think it was JP Sears yesterday, wasn't it? He said, if we are the ones in control of our own mind.
Yeah.
What did he say? The narrative.
Oh, yeah.
If we're in charge of our narrative, then nobody can make us do anything that we don't want to do.
Right.
They can't trigger us emotionally.
Because I've been working a lot with our stories. Everybody's got a personal story.
Yeah.
And that kind of determines how we feel, our habits. It determines
my harmonium's falling off, just in case anyone's wondering what's going on.
Oh, be careful with that thing.
Yeah, no doubt.
And but I think what JP Sears is saying is the media is feeding people what they should think.
Yeah.
The media is feeding people what their stories should be.
Yeah.
And a lot of people buy it, and a lot of people don't, frankly. So,
yeah, good.
I mean, yeah. But that's what he's talking to, and it's interesting because for a lot of us, perhaps the majority of humans, we like disable ourselves by our own stories, and then we make those stories come true. And
can I reference another thing?
Yeah.
So there's author Dr. Bruce Perry, and he wrote the book The Boy Who Was Raised as a Dog. And he's a psychiatrist, and he goes through different somewhat short stories of his experiences with humans, human minds. And they talked about this town that can you help me with? There was like a certain kind of therapy that they decided to do to these foster kids. It was like they hurt them basically until they confessed something.
Yeah.
And so they were like confessing things that were just like outlandish, and then it was like getting out in the community, and it was in the newspapers.
So there was this feeling that there was a cult or something.
Yeah, a satanic cult that these kids were confessing to because they were getting knuckled.
And just the way everybody or a lot of people in that city, in that town believed it.
What is that kind of therapy? It's pretty much illegal.
Oh,
now.
It's his goofy.
I can't remember the word.
I don't know what it's called. It's where you hold somebody.
Holding.
It's like
holding therapy. That's what it is.
And it's really not holding. It's more.
That's what they called it.
Well, it's holding, but in a not
mean way.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It's more like
I kind of had that happen a little bit in my life too.
Okay, yeah. It's like holding somebody and not letting them go, even when they want to let go.
Yeah.
So you're
until they confess
violating them, essentially.
Yeah.
Until they confess. And
what you want them to.
Yeah.
So, of course, if you want them to make up a crazy story, they will, because they just want you to stop hurting them. Point being.
Yeah.
So this psychiatrist gets pulled in, and he realizes that these stories that are being spun are from these children who are being given this holding therapy, and the whole town is like turned into this crazy place where most of the people believe that there's a satanic cult, even though a lot of the things that these kids are saying, the building doesn't exist, but they couldn't prove any of these details because they weren't there, because they were actually in the imagination of a child. And yet the town still bought it because they were emotionally invested in it. And when they had all these court, what do you call it? They had, when you go to the court,
court proceedings.
Court proceedings, thank you. About, is this real or not? And then a lot of the foster parents ended up going to jail because of this. And they were able to be like, hey, so there isn't a satanic cult here. And guess what? The town didn't believe it.
Yeah, that's like evidence of how people cling to their stories.
Well, it's evidence of that, the rigid mind, but it's also evidence that if you can get a whole body of people to emotionally invest. Right. I think this is also how they do marketing, like propaganda stuff.
Yeah.
But it's basically, if you get emotionally invested in the story they want you to invest in, they've got you.
Well, and like you said, there's a group think part of that too.
Yeah.
It's like all your friends talk about it, and then you're all in it together, and you all support each other on your beliefs and your behaviors and yada, yada, yada. And yeah, that's a lot of...
Unless your friends all get together and talk about their own narratives and encourage each other to question everything.
I like free thinkers instead of like in the box thinker.
Yeah.
But not everybody is a free thinker. I mean, certain people are just in the box, I guess. And it depends on what they're being taught.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess where I wanted to go with that, where I feel like I went in a big circle.
Yeah.
But what I wanted to say is really back to the media, and you always have to look at something like a detective. You know, we are meant to be curious. We're meant to look into things and be analytical and be open-minded and look for false versus true. Yeah. And to just like let somebody tell you what to believe and just trust them is it's
childlike.
It is childlike where now we can do our own investigating, and especially with the internet and just with your intuition too. You know, if you feel like something just isn't right, you're probably right.
Well, and just, I mean, the media, from my perspective, has proven to me time after time after time that essentially they can't be trusted. Mm-hmm. You know, a lot of what they say is true. A lot of what they say is not true. And I realize that. And that's the way it's been my whole life. Yeah. You know, I remember being a little kid, and the media is talking people into how the Vietnam War is a good thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. But eventually people kind of figured it out, and it's like, oh, this is bad. Let's protest. Let's end it, you know. But I mean, and then it's like one war after the next, you know, weapons of mass destruction, and everybody's ready to go to war again. And it's like, man, when are we going to stop believing them?
And the thing is, which you just brought up, is now it's being turned in on our own people. This media jargon of, you know, what you're saying, warlike intentions or warlike suggestions, like, oh, we got to go to war with these people because of whatever. And now it's
they're idiots.
We're divided at such a point, and the media is so filled with emotional jargon in a warlike manner that it's crucial, like absolutely crucial, that we back up and use some observation skills and investigation skills and say, what are they wanting here? Because if they want me to fight with my neighbor, screw that.
That sounds good to me. Well, I mean, one of the ways to reduce the media's influence on us is to not engage in it as much. I mean, there's all this alternative media now.
Yeah.
Like I was just listening to Joe Rogan.
Mm-hmm.
He's media, but he's like this alternative media. And it's like, oh, wow, cool.
There's so
outside of the corporate media box.
Right.
Now, we don't need, so just like my suggestion would be just to reduce the amount of media we ingest, the amount of corporate media we ingest, just reduce it. Always take it with a grain of salt. It's, well-meaning people and all that, but they're not my guru. I'm not going to believe everything the media tell.
Yeah.
I would be foolish because I look at the media like a good friend that's like been a habitual liar.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's like, okay, and you want to, you remain friends or whatever, but you just don't believe it all.
Right.
Right. And it's like,
take it all with a grain of salt. Look for evidence.
Or just
know where the exaggeration is.
Yeah. And to know when anybody's telling me I need to be rageful, for example, that
what do they get out of it?
Well, and it's nobody can tell me that.
Right.
Only I can tell me that. They're not my God.
Mm-hmm.
And, my personal philosophy is that we need to respect each other. And if somebody's telling me I should not be respecting them or them or them or them or them or them or them, they're like not a good advisor for me.
Yeah.
And we need to like just go with the flow of the way things are, but that's the way things are.
Yeah.
And what are we going to do with it? Are we going to make what's that saying?
Lemons out of lemonade?
Yes.
Lemonade out of lemons?
Yeah. You got it. Yeah. Are we going to do that or not? I think we're going to do it. I think we are doing it. You know, there's just lots and lots of people who are looking outside of that little narrow media box now.
Yeah.
And, there's a lot of people who are in it still, but that's okay because there's more and more people who are outside of it.
Right. That reminds me of the 100th monkey story that I learned in yoga. And there's 2 islands somewhere in the ocean. And they had a certain kind of monkey. Sorry, I'm really bad with details, but I'm not making them up. So there's a certain kind of monkey and on both islands. And the monkeys kept getting eaten by a crocodile on both islands. And all of a sudden, one monkey realized that it could take a reed of grass and turn it into a straw. And the crocodile didn't get him. And he went and started to show his family. And then his family was showing all their friends and their families. And all of the families on this island started to use a reed. And they were watching both islands at the same time, and the researchers. And at the same time as they said it was 100 monkeys on one island started to use the reed, all of them did. Just all of a sudden, all of them used this reed as a straw, whether or not they had been shown from another monkey. It was like
other island?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was just like a collective consciousness.
Yeah,
is what you're talking
collective
about.
consciousness, evolution,
collective unconscious, I should say. Yeah,
it's like
that's how we
evolutionary jump.
Yeah, right.
In the psyche,
quantum leap. Yeah,
yeah, and so that's what we're doing here, and that's why this podcast is important to us, and you are important to us because you are a part of that 100th monkey collective where we're gathering people, and we're not just us. Everybody who has the intention of awakening the psyche is all in this together.
Yeah, people who really believe that love is the answer.
I think I heard it's like 10%. If we can get 10% of people to become aware, then like that's the jump.
I've heard it's
I'm not
less,
sure.
actually.
Oh,
but
okay.
Yeah, but that's a great point.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. So one thing I wanted to bring up today that is starting next week is the Forgive 2020 challenge that Aaron Abke and Mark Taylor Lord are putting together. And it's a global meditation, 4 days of focusing on forgiveness. And in the morning, they give you a meditation, and in the evening, there's a lecture on forgiveness. And the reason why I wanted to share this with you is I believe in that 100th monkey idea. And so anyone who is in that vein with us of becoming aware and becoming more loving and becoming closer to our divine essence, we're down to support that too. So we suggest that if you're interested, I can tell you that to register, you would go to marktaylorlord.com or something. It's his website that you register under.
Yeah.
Or you can look on Forgiveness 2020 Challenge on Facebook, and you can probably find it that way.
And you can also just work on it
on your own. For sure.
Forgiveness is a big deal.
You'll know that 1,000 other people are doing the same thing that week.
Yeah.
Next week, the week before Thanksgiving, isn't that perfect?
Yeah, and the idea with forgiveness is if we're able to forgive others for their transgressions, that we're also, then our mind kind of gets in the habit of being able to forgive, and then we're able to forgive ourselves for all the various mistakes we make. We all make lots of mistakes, and if our mind is in that habit of judgment and anger towards people who we consider
different,
problematic,
others,
or people who make big mistakes, we're like, oh, I'm so mad at them, they make all these mistakes, and then our mind gets in that habit, and then we feel that way towards ourselves. That's why I'm way into the idea of just respecting others, respecting ourselves. And then the bonus is if our mind gets in the habit of respecting things, guess what? We also respect our habitat.
That's nice.
And the earth heals. Which is going to heal anyway.
I
mean, I believe. But let's speed the process. Let's learn respect. Let's end the wars.
Sounds good.
Yeah. And let's treat our habitat with respect. Everything. Ourselves. How would this world be different if we all respected ourselves?
Gosh.
I
can see how that would shift me.
It'd be like, oh man, when I watch CNN for 2 hours straight, I feel like hell. I'm turning it off. I'm going to respect myself.
Yeah, no doubt.
Turn that thing off.
Or instead of like my internal jargon is like, I'm sure I did something wrong. Nothing's working right for me. Blah, 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 blah. Wah, wah, wah. And then if I were to respect myself, I'd be like, you know what? It's going to work out soon. I don't need to spend time on this.
Yeah. So respecting yourself actually helps you shift your story then.
Yeah.
Is what you're saying.
Yeah. What comes to mind is knowing when and when not to move forward or hold back or let go or focus in, when to be, when to do.
Sounds like intuition.
Oh, that sounds nice.
To me,
Yeah, I like that.
So maybe increased intuition is a byproduct of respecting ourselves more.
I think so. Absolutely.
But the bottom line is we really do need to take a look at our self-talk, at our habitual self-talk. Because those are like mantras that we repeat to ourselves all day long. And we could say we respect ourselves, but if we're like repeating, you're a loser, nothing ever works out for you, how could you be so dumb, all that stuff. If we talk to ourselves that way, we live in a way that supports those statements.
Right.
And what do we want to manifest? So step one, I would say, is to really watch your self-talk. Just observe it. Notice it. It's that metacognition piece to mindfulness, just being the witness to your thoughts, and notice when you're in this negative self-talk, cycle,
Mm-hmm.
habit, and just re-steer it. Let it go.
And notice when you're being encouraged to have the negative self-talk.
Yeah, right. That's the media right there. It's like, be insecure because you don't look this way, or be insecure because you don't have a car that looks like that, or
Or
you
be
don't have
insecure because there's a riot happening over there. Or be insecure because your freedoms are being attacked, and be insecure.
Yeah.
I mean, man, they go links
to
make sure that you have negative self-talk.
Yeah, well, that's been their game for many, many moons, just to sell products, essentially, that make us feel insecure.
I know, right?
Really.
So lame.
Then if I just had those shoes, then I'd be happy.
Hey, I did just get some winter boots, and I haven't had any for a couple years, and I'm so excited for winter now.
There you go.
But I do want to share, we have one more song for you, and this next song that we're about to do is literally the first song that Monte and I composed together. And it's called Trust. It's very beautiful, and we just added to it very recently Om Tat Sat, which if you've been following us for a little while, you know that Om Tat Sat is one of my absolute favorite mantras, that it means that to the divine, I offer my truth. And it's how people bless their food, and how they release bad feelings. I'm paranoid, I give this to the divine. Things like that. Om Tat Sat. So it's one of the oldest mantras ever recorded, and it is considered the strongest mantra in a very old sacred text called the Bhagavad Gita. And we just wove it into the song that we wrote 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, yeah. Question the narrative. Notice how you feel.
Yeah.
Follow the things that make you feel peaceful and settled in your heart and in your stomach. And anything that makes you feel scared, question it. Anything that makes you feel extremely happy, question it.
Or anything that makes you feel judgmental.
Yeah.
That's a big one.
Yeah.
Hateful. Take a look at that,
Yep. And if you want to join us in this global forgiveness focus for the next week, we'd love to see you on the wave.
Yeah, and we have a Facebook group, Church of the Healthy Mind.
Yep.
Join us there.
Yep. We're pretty lively.
It's been
actually.
high vibrational. I think.
High vibrational.
Educational, right. Too.
Yep. And then our last announcement would be that we are about to launch. It's very exciting. We've got our team together. The IMI team is all working together to bring some really great offerings forward for assisting our human family, whoever
classes
vibes with us, to learn more about having a healthy mind.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Have a good week. Trust in my heart is so beautiful. Trust that the space now is bountiful. Trust in our dance is quite magical. Trust in the love is so powerful. Om Tat Sat, Om Tat Sat, Om Tat Sat, Om Tat Sat, Om Tat Om Tat Sat, Om Tat Sat, Om Tat Sat, Om. Om Tat Sat. Om Tat Sat. Om Tat Sat. Om Tat Sat. Trust in my heart is so beautiful. Trust that the space now is bountiful. Trust in our dance is quite magical. Trust in a love is so powerful. Trust, 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 trust. Thank you for your presence. You've been listening to Mindflow Radio. You can support Mindflow Radio on Patreon and get exclusive content access. Big gratitude to Lotus Head for their mindful music, keeping us in the flow. A shout out to our sponsors, Integrated Mindfulness Institute. Online, visit www.imi.earth. For ideas, questions, or comments, contact us by email, connect@imi.earth. Many blessings on our health and peaceful evolution. We are all in this together.